So I did get a new printer. This is the Prusa Mini, and I did my first test with it, which was just the built-in whistle thing that was on there, which worked out fine. Trying out this Wayland Yutani sign as my first thing that I've actually done in the slicer itself, and judging by the amount of time it's saying it's going to take and how fast it's going, I'm not sure how this is going to come out. I may have needed to set it to be a higher resolution, slower speed or something, but I'm going to see how this goes and if we get a decent result out of it. For the size, that's my finger next to it. That ain't half bad. I found another one that is actually has the Wayland Yutani Building Better Worlds written on it, which I think may have been in this file, but I sliced it so small, I think it just basically deleted that texture. So I'm going to try printing that one out. It's a little bit bigger, and we'll see how that goes. And just for a comparison, next to one of the figures, that's it next to Bishop there. That's pretty cool. That's a nice little tiny detail I can use for things for sure. So I'm going to play with this a lot more. So here's the second print. I haven't cleaned this up at all yet. This is just straight off the printer. My lighting in here. There, that's a little better. Not great. For the most part, I think for the purpose of what I'm doing, it's fine. I do have to clean up some of the edges. You can see there's some stringing between the letters and stuff. The most disappointing part is the B's in Building Better Worlds. Definitely looks like it says Dilding Deader Worlds. I guess that's okay. It's not the worst. I think the rest of it looks smooth. I think once it's painted up and isn't really the focus of your attention, it's going to be in the background. I think it's going to look pretty decent. Next up off the printer is this grate I found. It looks like it was actually designed as a game piece for an Aliens board game or card game, tabletop game, whatever you want to call it. And it was much smaller than this initially. It was a little player piece, but I thought it'd be cool to size it up and use it as the transition bit in this upper area. So I sized it just slightly smaller than the height. I think it's about a 1/4 inch clearance up there. But I could build around this too. And it's obviously painted, or it's printed in black. It's like a metallic black, but it's definitely black, so it's hard to see here. I'll paint it silver or gray or gunmetal, whatever. But I think this could be a cool thing to have, being as the transition point for where the Xenomorphs maybe came out of the duct. Took that grate, put it on the side wall, did the standard aluminum tape on the wall itself, so I'll have to weather this up. Well, the grate's weathered, but the tape isn't. And then I'm trying to add in some other bits to make this look a little cooler. And one of the things I came up with was some conduit piping. So it's a 3D printed bracket, two 3D printed brackets, and then 2 pieces of 1/4 inch dowel that are going through there to be the smaller conduit, and then a 1/2 inch pipe. It would have been another piece of dowel if I had it, but I didn't, so I decided just to 3D print out my own 1/2 inch piece of pipe. Probably not the best way to go about doing that, but that's what I did. So yeah, so that will go there. Looks like I may need to paint that side a little better because it is reflecting a bit, but I could also weather that and add some gunk in there. Yeah, so that's gonna sit on that side. I printed a little short here, so I'm actually gonna run a piece of that, the tubing like I did on the ceiling. I'm gonna run that across the bottom here anyway, so that'll disguise that. And I think I'm gonna do one more thick conduit just on this side. And I'll shorten down that mount and everything. There's not room without it going into the truss over here, so I just need to have the one. And that'll kind of hide the edges of this, I think, a little bit and give it a cool industrial look. Not entirely sure what I might do here. It may just be nothing, really. I think if I dirty it up, it could actually just stand on its own, but just really want to work to get this together. The other thing I found out, though, is that now I have to put the ceiling in and then this in. So it's becoming a little bit more of a construction thing. So I need to really think about that when I go to do this other wall, that I'm not going to lock myself into a weird scenario here. And because I'm now at the point where I can't do anything without mocking it up with the lights on, that's how that little bit looks. I'm trying to get an angle where you can actually see this thing decently with some light. So I think I'm going to call this wall just about done. There is some blank space here in the back, but because we have the truss and there's kind of a reflection off of this grating, I don't really feel the need to go too crazy with decorating that out. So I think I already showed this. 3D printed the grate here in the front. It's just over the flat black paint, so it kind of hopefully will give a feel of an abyss back there, even though there's nothing there. So this is basically conduit piping. I painted the brackets black after initially painting them gray with the rest of these pipes. And then these were a little short because I was afraid it was going to run into the grating down here, the mesh. So I ended up just kind of covering the bottom with this bit of actual wire holder, so it's glued in here in a couple spots, and then like drilled and glued into the wall just to give it that effect. This still needs to dry. You can see there's a little bit of wet paint on there, but this is actually somebody had a 3D printing thing for just some like Star Wars diorama bits. So I took a section of like Death Star wall and just printed it out at a different scale and then glued it in here to fit. So that kind of gives a cool effect. I weathered it up to match the rest, but like I said, it's just, I gotta get in there with a Q-tip, I guess, and clean it up a little bit more. But yeah, I'm gonna call that wall done. I think I may go a little lazier with this side and then just do it like the back wall. So it would be like a definitive stop here and a definitive stop here. Because you never really see this angle in the movie. And then, I think most of the shots I'm going to take are going to be over here anyway. So I think that's how I'm going to finish out the rest of this. And I would actually finish out this whole top section outside of some of the wiring. I'm going to run up from the bottom, and then I actually do want to add some like loose wires up here in the truss, kind of weaved throughout. But more or less, very close to done. And just because I have to show it, here it is in the red light. Pretty happy with how that looks. I think that's going to give a great effect. This is never really supposed to be like super scrutinized detail, but just detail to add into the whole story here that this is actually an air duct. So I've got the stasis pod for the face huggers. This looks relatively normal as you see it, but actually I realize I can't really turn it because it's open in the bottom. But yeah, I have, if I'm going to get hate for anything on this project, it's going to be this. The light in there, I mean, it was okay, but, they run on batteries, and I want to have this be something that could be lit up for long periods of time and not have to go and individually address each piece. So I'm going to take my stasis pods and wire them up like this so that they could sit in there and be part of the diorama, light up with everything else. They'll definitely be removable. Honestly, not losing anything here outside of the fact of them being battery powered, because they'll still sit flat. You're not going to see the bottom where I modified anything. The light seems about as bright as the other one, so that's not too shabby. So that's where we're going with these. It's going to be interesting. Back on that whole measure twice, cut once thing. I don't even know how I screwed this up so bad, but I got that way off, I think. This table's way too tall. Especially once we get the risers for these on there. But that's not that big of a deal. It's all hot glued in place, so it would really just be a means of taking everything, cutting it down, re-gluing it. But, at least that's a vague idea of the depth of the table. So this project is quickly devolving into me just making things 3D printed, which isn't really my intent. I do have plans to keep doing some stuff in more practical, hands-on type ways, but I kind of forgot how liberating it is to be able to just like design something in a computer and then make it into a real thing. So I'm kind of enjoying rediscovering that. But this bit is the bit that I am disappointed NECA never gave us officially. So the stasis pods in Aliens, there's a stand that they're on. They're not just the pod that NECA gave us, this section here, the cylinder at the bottom, and then nothing under it. And even their pictures for promoting the item just showed it resting flat on the table. And I was also a little disappointed that they never gave us this substructure here. So I wanted to make my own so that it was a little more accurate. And obviously you can look at it, I haven't captured all the details perfectly by a long shot. Part of it is, I don't know if you want to call it laziness. But it's hard to get a really good reference shot of the thing, so I didn't want to go too crazy with it. And at the same time, it's just, I want to make it so that the printer is not going to just like scream as I'm trying to have it print this. It already is going to be difficult. I'm going to have to put a lot of support material in these interior sections. But, a simplified thing to give the feeling of what was there in the movie is kind of my end goal here. So we have the cube here with the supports up at the top where it would bolt together. I've mapped out this circle here is basically the size of the NECA prop. So, you can see it's going to fit in between all those little tabs, which is pretty much what it does in the movie. It fits pretty solidly. And then here on the back, which you're never really going to see in my diorama because it's going to be facing a wall, but I wanted it there, is the control panel that's on this thing. And I honestly don't know, I can't find a screenshot of the movie that has it. But I found this Instagram account, and from it looks like a couple of years ago, they had done their own replica of it. So you could see here they had made the backside has several buttons and monitors and gauges and stuff. This is Little Shop of Horrors USA. So I don't know exactly how accurate their design is, but I really like the way it looks. So I was using it as a bit of reference here. So hopefully whoever runs that isn't going to be too mad. I hopefully not, because I'm just looking at their pictures and doing it myself. But I really like how this came out on their work. Obviously, if you look at mine, the gauges don't really fit exactly the same. I kind of took some liberties with it just to make it feel a little more spaced out in the dimensions I have here. Yeah, it's not perfect. This little thing in the middle kind of looks like a motor or something. I simplified it way down just to be kind of a block with some support struts coming off of it. But we'll see how this prints out. I'm very curious to see how well this will print. So actually, let's bring up Prusa Slicer here. And we'll add that guy in. And we'll see how much it hates me. So we'll put the bottom on the base. Print settings, I'm going to turn that down. I've been doing a 0.3 for some of these less intricate things, but I'm going to go back to a 0.2 for this one. And then support material. Going to generate support material, and then it's set so it will do it from everything, not just the build plate, which is what I want. 10% infill. I mean, there's not really much infill, I don't think, here. So let's see how bad this is going to be. Oh, wow. 3 hours, 22 minutes. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Support material is an hour of that. So out of a 3.5 hour print, an hour is printing. You can see all this green is the support material. That's nuts. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's going to be a pain. Go layer by layer and just kind of dissolve it down. I'm sure this is not interesting to anybody who's not into this kind of crap, but I am very curious to see how this is going to go. All right, well, I'm going to export this and print it out and see how this comes out. If this comes out well, I'm really excited, and I may, if this doesn't look like complete crap, I may actually try to make these available so that other people can have the files. I'm not going to sell them like full prints, but I could put the files out there on Thingiverse, and you could download them and do whatever you want if this looks okay. I don't want to do it if it looks like crap, but we shall see. So here it is, fresh off the printer. I got to clean off the support material, but it looks like overall it did an okay job on it. Just really curious to see what it looks like, especially in here, the interior where it's hollow. Obviously, it's all full of the support material right now, so I'm curious what we're going to see when we get this fully cleaned out. So cleaned it up best I could. Some of that support material was a pain to get out of there, and here it is with an unmodified one of the canisters on top. So that's about what it will look like. I think that looks all right compared to my movie reference. It seems to have about the right height to the base, and it has some, decent detail in it where it's gonna give an illusion that there's something going on there. And then we could turn it around, and there we've got like the control panel, so I could paint this to make it match the movie a little more. And then just to give you a look, the side view is pretty plain because there's not a whole lot going on there. This side's probably more interesting than the other, so not a lot on the sides, but the front and back have some detail, and I think this is good. I already started printing the second one, and I'll do 3 of these total, and I think I'll have one canister just kind of sitting empty. In the movie, there's like 2 rows of 3, but I only have 4 of these total, so unless I can find 2 more for a good price, actually, I don't even think I have room in there to put another row of 3, so I think it's just going to be the row of 3 and an empty one. Went ahead and started mocking up these couple new props here. I'm not 100% satisfied with the stasis tubes. I almost wonder if the NECA piece itself is taller than the movie one, like proportionately. Like it almost seems like they're a little stretched out. I may have made the base too big, and obviously that made the bench have to get lowered quite a bit. I don't know. I'm a little torn here. I don't know if this is going to be the final thing, but I'm still going ahead and printing out the third one of these little boxes for the bottom. So that's kind of going on the back. I don't know if I've shown much of this yet, but up in the front, I built the map console that they use. So it's kind of a multi-piece thing. I've got Newt sitting on it right now just because I wanted to get proof of concept that she could sit on it like she does in the movie. But basically this top part that overhangs is removable. There's a lip inside the bottom part where the map's going to say I'm going to print it out on acetate and light it from below so it projects up through the top, and hopefully it'll be this kind of cool lit up map. There's a little seam, you can kind of see it in there, a little seam between the top and the bottom. There's a spot on the one in the movie where you could see light shining through. I think it actually might have been like this piece had a gap in it as opposed to it being in the seam, but just engineering wise it made sense to put it between these two pieces, and then have this bezel that's going to go over the top like there is in the movie. So that's eventually going to get glued down. But yeah, so that's two major pieces of set building here in the bottom. I'm going to kind of build the little control console, hopefully like a little L shape here with some monitors and a little bit of desk space to put this and some kind of control panels and stuff. So this area is getting filled up pretty quickly. I also do want kind of one of these conduit towers, kind of like what I built up here in the back, going vertically in here as well. So space is going to fill up fast, and then of course the wall and the bulkheads for that too. I wanted to show you the difference of the like 3 incarnations of this. So all 3 same print, but basically we have fresh off the printer, all the support material there, so you can see it's a big cube basically. And this is it cleaned up with all the support material removed, and this is it with at least some paint applied to it. It still needs more, but that's basically the idea. And then I guess I could just turn them all around so you can get an idea what's going on here. So this is a side you're never really going to see, but I still wanted to detail it out. So here, it's mostly, you could see a lot of it, but there's some little bits of support on there. Cleaned up, obviously, and then I added some paint on this one to give it more of a look. It still needs, like, the dials on here and stuff, but that's the rough idea of what the total look is going to be. This table is going to get painted next, and then I'll start painting these guys. The second 2 stasis tube bases are cleaned up from their print, all the support material removed, and I've masked off this front section. Since I printed it out in black PLA, I decided just to mask off the front here, and that's where the control box is. That is black. So I'm going to use the natural. It's kind of a cool PLA because you can see it has this like sparkle stuff in it. It's just like the Prusa Mini Galaxy Black, I think is what they call it. So it has those little flakes in it, which, you know, I think give it a cool futuristic look. Mask that off both inside and out. When I made this initial design, I screwed up and ended up with this hollow channel at the bottom, but it actually really helps to mark out where the paint or where the tape needs to go. So it's kind of a feature, not a bug. That's kind of cool. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with these. I've been going back and forth on the height of them. I think the NECA stasis tubes are just taller, so I may end up making my own at some point, but I think I'm going to use theirs for right now. These, I'm relatively happy with how the design came out. They're busy enough, especially when you look at them from the front. Like, there's enough going on in there where you believe it's a mechanical thing happening. And the only thing I really dislike is I made this little floating box inside here. You can kind of see, like, this piece comes up and back, but there's this little floating box in the front, and it creates this really narrow channel at the bottom where support material has to be printed. It is a pain to clean out. Probably takes as long to clean that out as it does most of the rest of this. So, yeah, I don't know if that was the best idea, but I've got all 3 printed now, so just got to paint the last 2, finish up cleaning up the control panel on the first one and get that done on these as well. And I've got the table painted right now, or partly painted right now too, so this is all coming together. So not really part of the diorama, but I did stop at Target the other day, and I picked up the blue Ultimate Xeno just because I had the brown one, so might as well just complete it out. And then they had a one last little Resurrection Alien. Figured I'd pick him up since I only had the one, so now I'll have 2 plus the McFarlane. Don't need a ton of them, but it was better to have more than 1, or 2, I guess, technically. But I definitely wanted some more for that display, that's for sure. They're kind of sloppily arranged here, but I printed out the 4 sections to make up the 1 door panel. And yeah, the printer's just not big enough to do this all as one bit. And I figured slicing it into 4 spots was the cleanest way to do it. If I can hide the seam in the middle, like going horizontally there, I think it's going to look pretty darn good. So I feel like I'm kind of cutting this episode off abruptly, but I really wanted to get one of these build reports out for 426, right? Not that anybody cares about Alien Day. I don't know if that was a thing beyond like the first year people were pushing for it, but yeah, it's Alien Day, so might as well get this out when I'm filming this last little bit. And as you can see, it doesn't feel like much got done here. I'm missing some of the props. Things are still in flux. The wall's being painted right now. There's like 10 million things happening. It's just taking a while. I've been really busy, both between work and going on a little mini vacation there. So this is kind of a lackluster ending for this segment, but I'll be back soon. I'm really getting close to having certain things figured out so that I can go full steam ahead in getting this really detailed out. Like, I'm really happy, besides this being in here, I'm really happy with how this part is right now, and we're getting closer to having this lower part looking more like Hadley's Hope. So stay tuned. I'll be back with more relatively soon, and hopefully we'll get some real good progress here. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.